Is Arden around? They're always in the middle.
Here.
I also see your bookcase, Arden. Okay, I will call this meeting to order. And I'm calling this meeting to order in the regularly scheduled meeting of the Mission Springs Water District for the this is Monday, April 20th. Today's meeting is being conducted pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20 as a video teleconference meeting. Roll call, please, Dory.
Director Sewell.
Here.
Director Martin.
Here.
Director Grasha.
Here.
Vice President Duncan.
Here.
President Wright.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. Public input. Would anybody, Dory, do you have anybody there?
I have the only member of the public is Jan Pai, and she's simply observing.
Welcome, Jan. Thanks for coming to our meeting. I don't know how to say it. Thanks for listening into our meeting. Okay, so we'll go on to item 4, the COVID-19 update. Is there any more on that, General Manager?
No, not that I don't have anything additional, of course, other than the good. There is some good trends out there, but nothing really has changed as far as, we are concerned. Everything here is pretty much the same as it was. We do not have anybody that is sick. We do have one person out for another health reason, and that's it. We're in great shape, and the only thing I would do is want to again thank you for your leadership, the board for their leadership, but I want to also do a special thanks for my staff. They have been so good during this pandemic. They're really, we thought of so many things, and they come to me with recommendations, and we put together such a good working group, and this split schedule really helps, and we're getting work out the door. And I think we're going to get through this together. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Is that Arden in the middle by any chance? That is Arden. Arden, do you know that we can't see you? I don't know if you noticed that, if you want it that way or not.
I have
anyway.
to. Can you see me now?
Yeah.
I can put over here maybe.
There you go. That's fine.
I don't have the light.
It doesn't matter. You don't have. It just was weird.
Is that okay?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's
okay.
Fine. Thank you. It's nice to see you when you're talking, if need be. Okay, so item number 5, Human Relations Committee report. General Manager.
Okay. I really don't have much additional to add. I'm going to turn this to Brian. He did make up some examples of policy changes that I believe he sent out to you all. And then maybe, today, what I would say is that, your recommendation to the board would be contingent on the development of a policy. So that could be the direction that you provide, depending on whether you agree or disagree with the committee's recommendations. So with that, I'll let Brian have the floor here.
He's muted.
Is Brian on?
There he goes. There he got his mic on.
Okay, good. Just to highlight what we sent out earlier this morning, we did sit down with staff and go over what we thought may be some of the highlights, if you will, of a policy. First of all, the maximum balance would be 80 hours that we would allow an employee to build up in comp time. An employee wishing to utilize his or her accrued compensatory or comp time shall submit a request in writing to his supervisor or her supervisor 10 days prior to the date they want to take it. This will allow us enough time to, if we have multiple people that want to take certain time off, we'd be able to work through those scheduling issues. One of the things that may occur as we lead up until June, that we may have multiple employees wanting to take time off. This would allow us to work through those issues. If we can't work through those issues, then seniority would then take precedence over anybody's request. Another key part of this would be comp time balances will be cashed out upon employee request, subject to departmental budgetary constraints, obviously. And then mandatory cash outs will occur at the end of each fiscal year, that i.e. no carryover, so there's no liability taken into the next fiscal year, or in a change in FLSA status, meaning that if we had a non-exempt employee go to an exempt, we'd also cash them out at that time as well. So I think this highlights some of the policy issues that we would bring forward if this item was recommended by the board to be part of this upcoming budget. That's all I have.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, so I guess we'll go with the
Does Randy want to say anything?
Pardon?
Does Randy want to say anything with regard to this?
I'm gonna ask if anybody wanted to say. Randy, I'll go with you first since you were the chairman of that board or that committee.
Yeah. No, I got this draft this morning. Had a chance to read it over. Really didn't digest it all, but got a chance to read it. Looks good. As long as it's the 8-hour max, as long as the district is good with that, and nothing over a year, then it's fine. That would be my recommendation for this year's
Okay,
meeting.
Director Martin, since you were on that committee, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I reviewed it, and it pretty much covered all of my concerns with respect to banking of the time off, and then compensation if for some reason they can't do it at the end of the fiscal year. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay, Director Grasha, have any comments on that?
I had a question. How do these things rise from? Did we have a movement within the employees to bring this forward? I remember back. It's been a long time since I worked for an hourly rate, but I can remember being happy when I got paid for my time and a half. The few times that it actually happened. And I'm concerned that this might be something we might want to send to the employees and let them know what we're thinking about, as opposed to imposing something on them that changes something that I think probably most of them are familiar with. In some ways, this almost takes away time and a half. I'm not sure that's something that I'm comfortable with doing without a conversation with people that I don't know.
Okay, Steve, maybe I can clarify a little bit of that for you. What we're going on and what's in your packet is what the employees got together and are asking for. And then we go through them and we decide which ones, or if any, if all, whatever, that we will approve for the next fiscal year. Right. And this was one of their requests.
Yeah, and I attended that meeting remotely, and I remembered the comments being made that it wasn't a large group of people. These recommendations came from one or two people, and that was what causes me concern. I'd like to know what the full universe of employees thinks, not just one or two people that might have an
good question. Who can answer that one? How this process works? And Brian's got his hand up. So Brian, would you explain about how the employees do this?
Yes, that can either I can handle or Ariana, but I will, since I gave the presentation to the committee. Yes, this is completely voluntary. They can still take their overtime. They can still get their time and a half. But what we're offering in addition to that is if they want to take that time and a half, basically, let's say they work an hour or 2 hours. Let's say they work 2 hours. The math is easier. They would be compensated from a wage perspective of 3 hours, time and a half of 2. Well, if they wanted to take this as comp time, they would get the 3 hours off as extra vacation or some other related activity related to their work schedule. So it's just another way of the employee to take time off if they don't have any vacation, if they don't have any sick time or things like that. So it's really an option at the employee, whether they want to take the compensation the day or the time period they actually work the hours, or if they want to postpone that and take it as extra vacation down the road. It's completely up to the employee, and we'll track it as such administratively.
Do all the employees get to see this before it came to the committee?
Unfortunately, because we haven't had group meeting, we usually have staff meetings once a month where we bring all these ideas together. This was something we were going to bring to them on March 17th. We have asked the supervisors and managers to disseminate this to everyone so they know what's going on. So I don't think it will catch any of them off guard. But it's possible that this may be a new concept to some of them. But again, most of them were at the original meeting when we brought this up, and it seemed like a good idea. Other water agencies, other cities do it as well. So, and again, if they want to stay with the overtime, they can still get compensated the way they do today.
Okay, thank you. Russ, you had your hand up.
To emphasize what Brian just said, it's strictly up to the employee whether they want to get paid or take the time and a half comp time. So it's up to them. That's all.
Okay, Director Sewell, did you have anything to say?
I think Brian really said it best. I appreciate seeing the draft policy, and I think it just gives the employees another option. So, whether they want to take it or not, they can stay with how it's been or use this for their benefit as well. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the question now is, we need to direct staff. There's no voting on this today. We need to direct staff. So would somebody like to verbalize what, Randy, since you were the chair of the committee?
Yeah, why aren't we voting on this? This is something we've done.
Because it's
for
not on the
15
agenda to
years.
vote on.
Sure it is.
No, it's a recommendation.
Oh, provide direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
And recommend that we provide direction. So which direction, like what you just said, do you want to verbalize that?
Yeah, of the 3 items that the employees committee came up with, the HR committee, which comprised of Russ Martin and myself, want to recommend the compensatory time off policy that was given to us today as an option for our employees to take.
Okay, so that the recommendation is to, or the direction is to take, that's not the policy. This is just the points of the policy.
Right, just the draft.
To get a policy together and bring it back to the board in the future.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, Director Martin. Wait a minute. Russ, make sure your little microphone's off before you start.
Just to follow up on what Director Gracia said, it might be a good idea to all of our recommendations. What we finally come up with is to circulate that among the rank and file members so that they understand what it is we're doing, rather than just implementing it without providing them copies. So.
Okay, and I'm thinking this, yeah, putting a policy together is also is a I don't know, is a process. And so, and it does cost money. It ends up having to go to the attorney at the end. So it is something that takes a little bit of time, I guess. So I would think that we could say, go ahead and bring us back a policy in the future. Is everybody okay with that recommendation?
Yeah. We need the policy to present to the employees or to give them as an option to the
right. It would go through the employees before it came to us. I would say, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. And that would be my recommendation.
Okay. Anybody have any issues with that recommendation? Forever now, or okay, Steve. What do you? Okay, Steve.
As long as it's clear in here that it's voluntary and that they're not giving anything up.
Yeah, I agree.
Need to be clear in the opening statement that this is in addition to the historic policy of collecting time and a half on your Friday paycheck. Something so nobody's confused.
Okay. Okay, Arden, you got your direction?
Thank you.
Okay, go on to the next item. Item number 6, contract agreement with AES Water Inc. for seismic valve control installation. General Manager.
Not very much more to add to this, other than I do want to emphasize that I do believe it is essential. I believe, and with Matt's comments regarding the financial cost of this, he said it was doable. And I can say that without hesitation that we should move forward with this. I'm always one of those people that thinks when it rains, it pours. And if we could have 2 emergencies at one time, like an earthquake and a pandemic, I would say it's probably going to happen. And then I thought, wait a minute, it already has happened. This just completes our preparation. And this particular earthquake valve will, in many cases, prevent a lot of damage at a relatively low cost to the district. So I would recommend highly that we move forward with this and that you approve it. Okay?
Okay, so Director Duncan, do you have any comments? Questions?
No.
Director Gracia?
I want to be an enthusiastic yes for this, but with oil trading at below zero by a lot, I'm concerned about having enough money. I'm not sure we can reach in and pay for all this stuff. I know that there's some payments coming due with the meters, and
This item has already been approved in our last budget.
ma'am, I don't think we have to keep in mind that budget that was approved was based on things not collapsing, and oil is trading at below zero. That's a collapse, a full economic collapse. It hasn't hit your refrigerator yet because, I guess I've made my point clear on that, so I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else have a comment? I can see you all, so instead of calling your names out, why don't I just ask you to raise your hand if you'd like to make a comment on this topic, number 6. Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
To authorize the general manager to approve a contract with AES for the seismic valves. Okay, second. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Roll call.
Roll call, please, on the motion.
Helps if I unmute my mic.
No.
Okay, roll call vote. Director Sewell?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Gracia?
No.
Vice President Duncan?
Yes.
President Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you. I think it's very important. It's a safety measure. We all think the earthquake's not going to come, but we all didn't think a pandemic was going to come either. And I don't want to be caught without these valves. So thank
They
you.
both did happen at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So number 7, item number 7, selection of district financial statement auditors for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. General Manager.
Nothing additional to add at this time. I don't know if Matt has anything he wants to add, but I don't have anything.
Okay, does any board members have any comments or questions? Just kind of raise your hand if you do. Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to recommend that the board authorize the general manager to execute a contract agreement with Rogers, Anderson, Melody, and Scott LLP to provide financial statement audit for the year ending June 30th, 2020, and engage the firm to do all things necessary to complete this audit. I have a hand up. Director Martin.
Yes, so moved.
Oh, I'm
Second.
unmuted. Second.
Oh, I like that, Randy. You like
Well, that was second, not Pete.
Yes, I know. I thought I was good. Second. Anyway, that was good. So I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Director Gracia,
Yes.
Vice President Duncan,
Yes.
President Wright.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, item number 8, Financial Assistance Fund replenishing. Anything else on that, General Manager Arden Wallem?
You did ask us to come back to you today with what the overhead was between United Way and Mission Springs Water District. And I told you at that time that I thought that we worked that out and were very impressed with their overhead. And then Victoria could correct me. Victoria did call and found out that we have a 7% per the MOU between MSWD and United Way. So at 7% is the overhead fee, which I guess typically, and Victoria may be able to expand on this, it's usually about 12% with United Way, which both are very reasonable amounts of money, really. So, Victoria, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, not much further, General Manager Wallem. I'm just saying that it's 7% per an MOU with the district in order to run and administer the water fund on our behalf. And then the 12% is their general overhead. So any fundraising, things of that nature, that's a 12%, but that's separate from the water program. Unless, not trying to catch Matt unawares, but I believe he may manage that contract if there's any specifics regarding the MOU. But it's a 7% and 12% for the organization as a whole.
Thank you.
So you add the two together?
No, it's 7%.
7%. Okay. And any fundraising thing is 12%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a great program, and I think we ought to go around. And you know, I have not been asked for many years by the United Way when they ask the employees to, if they would like to make contributions out of their check to the United Way. They do it annually. They used to include the board. I haven't received any in several years, but if we can tag it to that program, I think that's a great idea. So if you put one in my mailbox when it comes out, okay, Victoria? Thanks. Okay, number 8, Mission Springs Water District, West Valley Water Reclamation Facility. Anything on that? Anything else on that?
Nothing more to report.
Okay, I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda, item number 10, item A and item B on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, I have a second, Russ, and did Ivan, I think, made the first? Made the motion in a second?
Yep.
Okay, roll call, please.
Director Sewell,
Yes.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Director Gracia,
Yes.
Vice President Duncan,
Yes.
President Wright.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion passes.
okay, thank you. Financial report. I think we pretty much had that done. Any more on that, Arden?
Nothing more to report. I think Matt did send you out some information regarding our investments today so that you could see exactly what our portfolio is. And if you ever have any questions with regard to our finances, I've invited all of you in, and anytime you want to come in and see what we're doing, we're very transparent. You can come in, we'll sit down and visit with you, we'll explain it to you, and provide you with all the information that you need. We have to be a little bit careful about the customer privacy with regard to, some services. Sometimes I get a question regarding the customer's information, and we have to be very careful with the confidentiality issues around that. That's just to protect the customer, which I'm sure you all want to do. But feel free to come in and visit with us. We'll show you anything that you want to see. Okay?
Okay, thank you. I'll move on to 12 if nobody else has any comments. Public Affairs Report. Anything new? Arden?
No, nothing other than I've been very excited about the news today from the Riverside County, but I think that's the only thing that has changed. I do know, like I said in the COVID item, that it's looking pretty good out there, and hopefully we can get back on track here faster than we expected. It looks like what we're doing is working. Nothing else. Do you have anything, Victoria? I don't think so.
Okay.
Nothing new.
Oh, there we go. No, nothing further. I'll have my daily update out after our meeting this afternoon, but nothing related to the district at this time.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are on monthly report. No, yeah, monthly reports.
Yes.
13.
None.
Anybody, raise your hand there. Ivan?
Mine's more of a request maybe for next month's monthly reports. I know we do have the billing cycle page in our packet, but I was kind of thinking this next month is going to be pretty telling as far as people that are unable to pay their bills, and if there's maybe a little bit of information we can get as far as how many customers have called in or how many have outstanding balances, just so we can have a better idea of the state of our customers for next month's meeting.
Idea, Arden, would that be possible?
Yes, in fact, we were going to do something like that. We've discussed it in-house on how we can get information. Matt is going to get that together. Actually, we don't have much to share with you right now, but you are correct. As this pandemic moves on, we're gonna probably have some more things to report, maybe. So far, it's looking pretty good. People are really handling this quite well, and when they call in, we work with them on their bill. And in the long run, we hopefully will be okay. But yes, we had planned on providing you with some more information on what it's doing with regard to our bill payment. So it's good.
That'd be great. I think that's a great idea. I know other directors have more or less asked for that same idea. And since we don't get a financial report during the audit, but at least we could maybe get that type of financial report even during the audit. So, okay. Anybody else on monthly reports? Did anybody have any to do today? I guess I should ask. Nope, that's the next one, upcoming events. Where are we on? We're on public affairs, monthly reports. Anybody have a monthly report? No?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, not monthly report, the director's reports.
Yeah, no, I'm getting monthly reports mixed up because I don't have my agenda in front of me. I mean, my packet. I got this thing. So the monthly reports are the. Anybody have any questions on the monthly reports or comments about, the water, how much we produce, number of meters, number of sewer connections. Okay, now number 14, which is directors' upcoming events and directors' reports about the events they went to.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right. March 3rd, this one I actually attended this before we started doing everything virtual. The biggest thing from their meeting, it was a pretty quick meeting. Bob Reed came back from Sacramento with a whole bunch of assembly bills, spot bills, Senate bills to take a look at. A couple of them kind of caught my eye. In Arden or Victoria, either one of you can look at these if they fit the district's needs. AB 2987. It's a construction cost accountability for bids. I think if I remember right, it says it puts a cap on some bids. AB 3145 is an affordable housing bill that puts a cap on our fees and costs for setting meters, engineering work, whatever is involved there. Senate Bill 855. It requires new pipes being installed to be GIS located. Do we have software for that already? Or is that something we need to take a look at? Maybe Arden can,
Well,
you know anything about
yeah,
that?
we use GIS, and Danny might be the one to speak to that. Danny, do you have any comments before I say anything?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm called in on the telephone today just because I've got connection issues. What was the question about new pipelines being GIS?
Well,
It's a new Senate bill, 855. It requires new pipe to be GIS located, which I think most of ours are anyway. I don't know if this is something new that you're aware of or coming down the line, maybe.
Well, I can tell you that right now that all of our pipelines are designed by CAD, and that CAD is translated into GIS. So we're covered.
Good. Okay. Last one to come by was the Senate Bill 1217, and it is an explanation for the 55-gallon per capita bill. I guess a lot of people are confused about it, wanting to know what's going on. It's very misleading, very confusing for a lot of people. That's that meeting. CVWD, March 10th. They voted 4-0. There were only four directors there. General manager employment agreement. He went from a salary of $293,000 to $303,000. It's actually $302,911, but I call it $303,000. Plus a 0 to 10% bonus of base salary based on several factors for their criteria. They didn't go into that.
is that an increase?
Pardon me?
That was an increase for him, you said, of how much?
Yes. It went from 293 to 303. Plus a 10% bonus, which he gets anyway. I can't read my own handwriting here. There's more new bills. One of them is a renter's tax credit, and they're looking for options. This is another water subsidy, if you will. One of the options is Water District gives a 20 to 35% discount on their water bill and is reimbursed by the state. Other people can get a tax credit or another third option that's not on the books yet. That was the gist of that one. That one I did online, and then this one was done online also. They voted to keep their tiered rates. I'm sorry, they didn't vote. They're sending out a 218 notice. They want to keep tiered rates. They looked for a rate increase. The staff did. It was shot down instantly by the board. They said now is not the time to be looking for any rate increases. They did suspend termination for non-payment. They're waiving late fees from March 19th up until the end of the shelter in place. They waived all those fees. And then they also approved a proclamation of a local emergency by that board. They declared a state of emergency. And I believe that was, yes, that was it for me.
Okay, thank you. Any of the other directors have any directors' reports on any events that they went to? Probably don't. Now, Randy caught in just before the line there. Okay, so we'll go on to correspondence. I think we talked a little bit about that.
I have nothing.
Okay, we'll go on to general district council comments.
Yes, we will have a closed session today, as I indicated on Thursday, and the item we're going to be discussing is item C, conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation for Government Code Section 54956.9 D2 and/or 3 and/or E3, one claim against MSWD submitted by attorney Josh Strombaugh for a potential class of claimants Sharon Marino and George Padilla.
Okay, thank you. General manager's report.
Nothing more to report today.
Director's comments. Just raise your hand if you have any. Okay, seeing none, we will go into closed session. How do we do this? So you know what? We have a meeting afterwards too. We've got that improvement section, that improvement meeting. Should we do that first? How do you want to work that, John?
What time is that meeting scheduled for?
Right after this meeting is basically ended.
Okay,
so
so what we should do, are there staff members attending that?
Pardon? I didn't hear what you said. Are there staff?
Are there staff members that are going to be attending that meeting?
Well, we're just approving the minutes of a year ago, so they're not necessary, but.
It's
okay.
Matt, why don't you explain to John what this is all about?
It's Mission Springs Water District Improvement Corporation that was formed several years ago because the debt instrument that was chosen at the time, which were certificates of participation, required there to be an improvement corporation. It is a formality that's done once a year that basically approves the minutes from last year's meeting and then updates the board on the current balance of the outstanding debt.
Okay.
So Matt would be the only one.
Okay, so I don't have that in front of me, but it was scheduled for immediately at the conclusion of the regular board meeting.
It just says following, yeah.
So we can cover that item now and then go into closed session when we're done.
Because you said we have to hang up from this call, right? And call another number to go into closed session? Is that
I think Dory has it set up so that we can stay on the line. So why don't we cover that item that Matt just referenced now, and then we'll go.
Well, how do I do that? Because it's a separate meeting. It's a different meeting altogether. It's not a Mission Springs Water District meeting. I mean, agenda item.
So what we'll do is we'll recess the Mission Springs Water District board meeting, and we'll call that meeting to order. And then when that meeting's finished and you adjourn it, then we'll go back to the Mission Springs board meeting.
Okay. I'm getting a little weird feedback of some kind. I don't know where it's coming from. Okay, so we'll leave Mission Springs Water District for a moment, our board meeting for a moment, and I will open the meeting, right? I will open the Mission Springs Water District Improvement Corporation annual meeting of Monday, April 20th, 2020. I will call that meeting to order. Public, I guess we'd have to do roll call. There's not roll call on here, but let's do roll call.
Sewell? Sorry, let me unmute your mics. Director Sewell.
Here.
Director Gracia.
Here.
Director Martin.
Here.
Vice President Duncan.
Here.
President Wright.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Public input. Is there any member of the public like to?
There's still no members of the public, President Wright.
Okay. So next item is approval of the minutes of April 15th, 2019, long-term debt. So we have a recommendation here. Did everybody get this agenda? So you know what the recommendation is. So Arden, I'll turn it over to you, and you turn it over to whomever, unless you have anything to say about it.
Well, no, I mean, the only thing I'm saying is that we do this every year. Really, the history and the agenda sheet explains how this thing grew and where we modified it. It's a very small remaining balance. And with that, I'm going to let Matt make any additional comments he wishes to make.
Hey, Matt, you're on.
Not a lot to add other than the staff report. As I mentioned, this corporation was formed when we issued these COPs. It was in 2001. This is a very small payment that we make each year. Up until sometime last year, because the question has come up several times, why don't we just pay it off? Prior to that point, the USDA did not allow prepayment, but we've received correspondence in the last several months that they do now allow prepayment. So this will be considered in any financings that we do going forward, whether it makes sense to refinance this or pay it off in conjunction with other financings that are going on related to large projects for the district. So it's literally a subject that we visit once a year, other than making the decision. That's all I have.
Okay, so your recommendation is to give me your recommendation.
All it is to receive and file the report.
Okay, do I have a motion to receive and file the report?
Yes,
A motion, Russ.
I move to approve approve the minutes from last year.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, before, I didn't ask anybody yet, before we go for the vote, does anybody have any questions or comments? Raise your hand if you do.
Yeah, last year I asked about this, and I think he just addressed my question from last year. What was it? It sounded like this is something we would consider next year, or is that something we should consider this year in terms of dispensing with the paying it off?
Well, Matt, I think Matt just said that.
I think we're just receiving the report, but maybe we could bring this up for discussion at some point, so I can study.
Okay, or you can ask Matt. It's very simple. It was a loan that we took out years ago, and we're just paying it off. Took it out under the Improvement Corporation auspice, because back then that's how you did it. So
if I remember right, we can't pay it off early.
yeah, and you can't pay it off early.
Well,
so that.
But I think that's what he just said changed, that you could pay it off early.
Is that what you said, Matt? I was kind of having a hard time hearing you. Matt,
That's correct.
It's changed now. We can pay it off early.
That's correct. We've received correspondence since last year's meeting that the USDA has changed their stance and are allowing prepayment of these loans. So it will be considered in our next round of financing whether to roll it into a large loan and pay it off individually, but at 4.5% interest over 40 years, and the economic situation we're in right now, definitely would not make sense to use the cash to pay it off currently, but it will be considered in our next financing.
Okay.
I agree with everything you said, but it would be great if we could put that on a work session at some point this year, I guess, so that I could get a full understanding of what's involved in terms of money and
okay. Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Director Sewell?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Grasha?
yes.
Vice President Duncan?
Yes.
President Wright?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. I will adjourn the meeting of the Mission Springs Water District Improvement Corporation. And now what do? We go back to the Mission Springs Water District Board meeting and we are going into closed session.
Yes, so I'm going to disconnect.
19C.
So I'm going to disconnect all employees from this meeting.
We're going to take a break.
Dory, if you're the host, how are you going to disconnect?
I made Nancy the co-host, so I can.
Oh, okay.
Do you need a break? Does anybody need a break?
I guess, is it still being